Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light.
Powered by Emery Allen. Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light. Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show, and today maybe the number one outdoor audio show in Magnolia, Texas. We're about to find out. Really excited. This show is so fun, you guys. Get to bring on amazing guests, different topics, different vendors. Listen, if you are getting value out of the show, I would appreciate a 5-star review if you haven't done it already. But excited for today. We've got Mr. Ryan Phillips. He is the national sales manager. I guess I probably should have asked him the exact title, but national sales manager, Green Channel for Sonance. And so today we're going to be talking all things outdoor audio. And, it was really cool. We had, it was kind of like a last minute thing where Lighted Up Expo a few months ago, I decided, it'd be really good to have some outdoor audio presence there. And Ryan made it happen. He showed up, he did a class, and it was one of those things where, again, it was kind of like a last minute thing, but it ended up being one of people's favorite classes at Lighted Up Expo. So it was really cool. So I'm excited to have him on. So if you have been, if you've heard about outdoor audio, or you're wondering, like, should I get into this? Like, what's the good, the bad, the ugly? Well, this is the episode you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to. So a couple reminders coming up here in, 2 weeks. Friday fly-in, July 10th here at my house. This is for Illuminati members only. So if you're thinking about getting into landscape lighting secrets and you're like, I don't know, like, book a call now and come, because then you can come hang out at my house. It's a free mastermind for members only. And this is a really good chance for you guys to get in person and network and get coaching and feedback and mastermind, where we actually just help you get unstuck from where you're at. So that's really cool. If you're in landscape lighting secrets, make sure you register. It's free, but you do have to register so we can plan on food and seats and find out if everyone could fit in my living room, because it's actually not that big. So July 10th, Friday fly-in. September 9th and 10th, Park City, Utah, Secret Summit. This is our annual members only event. But if you're a vendor, okay, if you're thinking, man, how do I get in touch with lighting professionals that are looking to grow their business, you might want to come to Secret Summit. It's the first time we've ever invited vendors. There's some details to it. You have to apply to come. You can't just, pay to be a sponsor. But there are some opportunities if you're a vendor. So email me at support@ryanleecoaching.com. And finally, speaking of Lighted Up Expo, we got everything finalized, and we know the dates, we know the location. We're not going to tell you everything right now, but we do know, put it on your calendar, March 1 through March 4th, 2027. Just go to lightitupexpo.com and you actually get your name on the wait list, because pretty soon we're going to be announcing where it's at and all the details and all that stuff. But if you're on the wait list, you are going to get the homie hookup. Okay, so make sure you go to lightitupexpo.com, get on the wait list, and soon we'll be announcing all the things. We're still kind of trying to organize the schedule and stuff like that, and kind of the show layout and whatnot. But at least put it on your calendar, March 1 through 4, 2027. So that's going to be awesome. And again, in just a few minutes, we got Ryan Phillips with Sonance. So if you're looking to grow the outdoor lighting segment of your business, which there's so much opportunity, guys, I'm excited for this conversation because so many people are missing out on a really big opportunity. But again, he's coming on in just a couple minutes. Before we have him on, I do got to just talk about one thing. So, man, it's almost frustrating because I talk to so many people, and like they'll start really good. Okay, they'll be like, man, I'm selling jobs and things are good, and I just sold an $8,000 job, and I just sold a $23,000 job, and I sold a $60,000 job, and like, man, those sound really good. But how is it that same person just sometimes 30 days later or 60 or 90 days later can all of a sudden be out of money, can be broke? And sometimes it's like, well, the lead slowed down or whatever, but here's what's happening. And by the way, how much money do you think an outdoor lighting company should make? Like if I just said, hey, what's a reasonable net profit percentage? Like what comes to your mind? For me, what comes into my mind is like, I think I've been conditioned to think that 20% is like the number that like every business shoots for. It's like, hey, you got to do this and you got to do this. And then at the end, you should make 20%. I don't know where that came from. Like, Why not make 10%? Why not make 30? Why not make 50? I don't know. Someone made up 20%. Am I the only one that thinks 20% is like what we've been conditioned to think? But one of the coolest things about being a business owner is it's your business, it's your game, it's your rules. You can do whatever you want. So if I say, "Oh, you should make 20%," you should be like, "Well, why? I'll just make 25 or I'll just make 30 or I'll make 40." Like you get to choose whatever it is you want, okay? And so one of the things that when people, especially newbies, but not always the newbies, sometimes it's people that have been in the game a few years. Um, a lot of people have the same questions. Okay. And one of the most popular questions I get is, how much should I charge? Okay. And they'll say, well, I did some espionage and I found out that my competitors are charging this. So I'll go a little bit lower than that. Right. That's kind of like the traditional method. And to be honest, I could give you a pretty close number for like flat rate pricing, regardless of the size of your business, and say, hey, you should charge this much money. And I'll just throw out a number. You should charge $400 a light. Okay. But the reality is like that's not going to help you very much. It might help you like with your first couple jobs, but you really need to understand your numbers. Um, like how much does it currently cost you to wake up in the morning and start your day? And when you're getting started, if it's just you and you don't have an office and you don't have trucks and you don't have insurance, you're like, I got insurance. I've had car insurance since I was 16. If you don't have overhead, well, it's not going to cost you as much. But remember, at some point, you will have overhead. You will have salaries to pay. You'll have insurance to pay. You'll have truck payments. You'll have an office manager. You'll have an office and all those things, right? So, how much will it cost you when you actually have your business up and running like a business? And this seems so simple, but it took me years to figure this stuff out. And unfortunately, I see the same pattern happening over and over and over, even to this day with people in their lighting businesses. They're pricing like who they are today instead of pricing like who they want to be. So it's easy to say like, well, I don't have to charge $400 light. I can buy lights for $50 and I can buy a transformer and wire and I'm all in for this. So I'll just charge $200 a light. Well, that's not going to help you grow a business. Okay. You have to start pricing like who you want to be. And who you want to be is what? I mean, do you want to be $1 million business? Do you want to be a $2 million business? And what overhead did those businesses have? Do you have 2 trucks on the road? Do you have an install team? Do you have a maintenance team? What type of products are you using? Are you going to stay using the cheaper products, or are you going to elevate your brand and use a higher quality product? Right. And so one of the things, and here's the deal, like this activity I'm going to propose to you is so boring. It is not sexy at all. I would rather just go knock doors and sell a $10,000 job. Like it's just easier and sexier to go like design and sell lights. Right. But the boring stuff is what wins in business. Okay. And this is super boring. Those of you that go, yeah, I've done that before. Even if you've done it before, if you did it 6 months ago, you need to do the activity again because your numbers and your perspective have changed. So you need to add up all your expenses. You can just do this on a spreadsheet. Okay. And if you have a monthly expense, call it insurance, well, you need to times it by 12. If you have an annual expense, then it's just an annual expense. You don't have to times it by anything. But figure out how much it costs you to operate your business every single year. Like figure out your annual expenses. Okay. So again, monthly expenses get times by 12. If you don't have an office right now, what would an office cost you? Because people go, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford to hire an office manager. I can't afford to get a shop. I can't afford to get a second truck. Well, that's because you didn't plan for it. You didn't budget for it. So put those numbers in here. You're like, hey, I need a new truck. It's going to be $800 a month. Okay, that's $9,600 for the year. 9,600 goes on the spreadsheet for a new truck. Well, I can't afford an office manager. That would be $60,000 a year. Okay, $60,000 goes on the spreadsheet. Well, if I get an office manager, I would have to get a shop. That's $3,000 a month. $36,000 goes into the spreadsheet. Okay. You need to figure out what it costs you to operate your dream business. Do this do 2 tabs, one current and one future. Okay. And so you can figure out exactly how much you're going to need to charge because it costs you money to wake up every day, whether you realize it or not, whether you agree with me or not. There is a real number that happens. And then you need to measure how long it takes you to do an installation. Okay. If you're a one-man show, or maybe it's you and a helper, or maybe it's just you have two guys that do all your installs, or maybe you have two teams, whatever it is, how long does it take you to do an installation? And I've found, I was in Texas, okay, and we had a lot of Hispanics that worked for us. Those guys are machines. I didn't even realize that at the time, but now I've talked to other people that hire lazy white people and they're like so slow. I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. Right. But you need to figure out, how long does it take you, not somebody else, to do an installation? And sometimes people aren't slow just because they're lazy. It really, sometimes it's like you're doing super custom stuff. Right. And some people are just slow. Right. Some people, especially newer, they're like doing everything, burying everything, and then all of a sudden, like, they test the system after the connections are buried and go, "Oh, it doesn't work," and then they're unburying connections and going through that whole thing and everything. So, figure out how long it takes you to do an installation. In my experience, and I've asked a lot of different people this question, it seems like an average is people are able to install about one light fixture per man hour. Okay. So if you're just like a solo person and you're working a 10-hour day, it seems like on average, you're able to do 10 lights a day. Um, Again, average. You might go, that's crazy. I can do 20. Well, then good job. You know what I mean? Or, man, I can't do that many. So whatever your number is, you're going to want to know this number. So let's run this scenario out. Let's say you have a 2-man crew and it takes your crew 2 days to do a 20 light install. Okay. And you might go, well, that's fine. It can take 2 days because I sold it at $400 a light. Ryan Lee said charge $400 a light, right? This is where I could get into trouble because you can't just take blanket advice off a podcast. Okay. You do $400 a light, you got 20 lights. It's pretty easy math. It's $8,000, right? Well, if you add up your daily overhead, okay, and you do the math and say, oh, let's say your overhead of your dream business is going to be $3,000. Okay. Well, if it takes you one day, you have $3,000. That's the day, right? That's what it costs you per day. And then let's say your materials for those 20 lights is about $2,000. Okay. So now all of a sudden your total is $5,000. Well, you charged 8. So now you have $3,000 profit. Like, heck yeah, that's freaking awesome. Okay. Um, Here's where people get into trouble. That $8,000 install took 2 days. Okay. And so you thought, oh, I priced 400 per light. Like, we're golden. Well, now all of a sudden it took 2 days. And remember, your daily overhead was 3,000 daily. So now you have 3,000 times 2. You're already at 6,000. You add on your $2,000 material, you're at 8,000, which is what you charged. So you broke even. You didn't lose money, but there's no profit. What happens if that customer calls you back and you need to send the crew back out? Right? What if you need to go warranty something? There's no profit. And guys, we're not in business to be nonprofits. Okay. You have an LLC, you have an S Corp, you have something, a for-profit entity. And it's your duty, your obligation to make a profit so that you can over deliver for your clients. Okay. And so if you don't know your numbers, this can screw you up big time. You can hear someone say, oh, well, yeah, man, just charge $400 a light, just charge 500 a light, just make 20%. And that's the danger of going off of just like averages and blanket recommendations, because you could do the same math and go, okay, I'm going to make 20% on this. I know the materials cost me $2,000 and then my labor is this. And then you forget about your daily overhead and you only charge, let's say, $5,000 because you go, well, it's 2,000 in materials and I'm paying my guys like $250 a day each. So that's 500. And if it takes them 2 days, that's 1,000. So I'm only in at 3,000 and I want to make 20%. So you come up with 5,000. It's like by the time you pay your 3,000 and your 2,000, you're losing money. So there's a lot of people out there working really, really hard, celebrating wins, celebrating sales, celebrating success that are losing at the end of the month. And it's so frustrating for me because I'm like, guys, you just have to know your numbers. And then you just have to say what has to be true. Okay. So what has to be true to be able to cover the overhead, cover the materials, and make your desired profit? People go, what's my desired profit? I'm like, as much as freaking possible. Okay. It's supply and demand. The market will dictate what you can charge. And a lot of people are charging what they think someone's going to pay. Oh, I don't know. This person seems cheap. I'm going to have to give them a deal. Well, that's not how business works. You have to charge what you have to charge to make your business profitable. If you can't make those numbers work, then you either go out of business or solve the problem. And solving the problem is, well, raising your price, closing more deals, getting higher quality leads. Like those are the things that you need to focus on. And unfortunately, most people don't do that and they never solve the problem. And then they go broke and they either have to quit or file bankruptcy. Right. So you need to really understand these things. It's like, if you go, well, I can't charge those prices in my market, then you should quit. You shouldn't own a business. You have to be able to charge those prices in order to cover your expenses and create a desired profit so that you can serve your client at the highest level. Okay. And just the next time you think, oh, I don't know, is someone going to pay that? Why would someone spend $500,000 on a car? You can get a brand new car for $50,000. Well, they spend 500K because it makes them feel differently, makes them feel better. They're not buying a $500,000 car to save money. They're not buying it because there's not a cheaper option. Okay. There's always going to be a cheaper option. So if you're struggling with pricing, you need to increase your value, because the moment that your value is above your price, people pull the trigger. Okay. And so if you're wondering why, oh, I can't charge this, it's because your value is so low and your price is so high. Well, instead of lowering your price to meet your value, just raise your value over your price and you can charge whatever you want. Okay. So this is the key. This is why I'm so passionate about talking profitability and pricing all the time, because there's a way, there's a proven model that works. It only works if you work it. So you guys have to trust the process. All right. Hey, speaking of trusting the process, over delivering, providing a red carpet, white glove experience. When you do provide that, red carpet, white glove experience, you're going to get more repeat business. You're going to get more referrals. And you do that by using a high quality product. Okay. So Emery Allen, they make premium LED lamps for lighting professionals who demand the best. Don't settle for less. Upgrade your designs, upgrade your installations today with Emery Allen. All you need to do is email Jackson, and his email is Jackson L, as in the letter L, Jackson L at emeryallen.com, and take advantage of their contractor pricing. If you do mention that you heard about them here on Lighting for Profits, they will hook you up with their best pricing. Just email Jackson L at emeryallen.com. Thank you, Emery Allen. All right, so I think it's time. I think Ryan looks ready. Let's get him on the show. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to nerd out on some outdoor audio? I know I am. So let's get this going. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ryan Phillips. What's up, Ryan?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm excited to nerd out on outdoor audio, man. I'm doing good.
Good. Looking forward to it.
So it's kind of cool. You and I just met like a few months ago, and Roger Ramsey with Ewing introduced us. I was talking to him, and I was like, man, I don't know. It'd be sweet to get outdoor audio. He goes, I know what to do. And he took over from there. He called you, he called me, he organized this whole thing. So I'm grateful for him for making the introduction, because I feel like it's just the start of something really, really big in the outdoor lighting industry, which is weird to say outdoor lighting and outdoor audio, but there's just so much potential in combining them. So thanks for being part of Light It Up Expo, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the invite. I think there's a lot of parallel between these industries, and I've had the opportunity to dive into that over the last couple of years, and I think it's an exciting opportunity to share what we've got and what this category can do for guys that are already out there in the space doing similar stuff.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we get started, would you mind just doing a quick introduction of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm currently the national sales manager for our green and production channels with Sonance, and so I've been in this industry for 21 years this year. So spent the vast majority of my adult life in audio video, and did a bunch indoor as in an integration capacity early on, and moved to the manufacturing side about 9 years ago with Sonance. But I had a chance to sell this stuff before, and the outdoor category has always been probably my favorite thing that we manufacture. It's definitely the system in my own house that, that gets used the most, particularly by, my kids and when folks come over and we entertain. And so it's loads and loads and loads of fun to play with. I think it's cool to get paid to listen to music for a living. It's a great gig if you can get it. But now, man, it's, for the last 3 years, I had the opportunity to really dive deep into the entire green industry and figure out, how to solve for a gap that, I think as an industry is not the best, hasn't been the best job at like reaching all the folks that want it. The demand is through the roof. This year in particular has been gangbusters, right? In terms of outdoor audio, it's been awesome, and we see a ton of growth in that. And having had the opportunity to dive in, several years ago and start to understand, learn the green industry, try to get the language down, understand how these businesses operate, what all of your members and folks that are in that landscape lighting capacity deal with on a daily basis, and types of projects that they do. There's just so much parallel with that and what we do in the outdoor audio space. So it's been a blast. I'm still learning a ton in this space for sure. But it's exciting and I've had a blast doing it.
Nice, man. I appreciate it. Well, like I mentioned, it was really kind of it wasn't I guess it was a last minute add-on. It wasn't a last minute thought, because I've always thought it would be good to like make it part of it. But I was like, oh, we'll get Lighted Up Expo going, and then we'll bring in outdoor audio like 3-4 years later. And I'm like, why would I do that? I literally had like people asking like, hey, will there be an outdoor audio thing? I'm like, what am I thinking? So it was kind of a last minute, but it was a very popular class, very well attended. What was your experience like there? What did you think of the crowd?
Yeah, it was engaging. I've had the opportunity to attend in a couple different capacities early on into this journey. I spent a lot of time as a guest in multiple trade shows within this channel, and get a chance to interact with guys that are doing projects, talking to the contractors that are doing the work, and learning about their projects and finding those similarities and ways that what we do can dovetail into what they do. And what I liked about Lighted Up, honestly, man, it was one of the most engaging audiences that I've had a chance to get in front of, not just in the class setting, but even when we had a chance to get outside and do some demos and the types of questions that we're getting asked. It seems like the appetite's really there. There's a lot of hunger for it. And, the ability for us to kind of plug in to that was obviously super exciting, but there was energy at that show that it was different than some of the other stuff that I've had a chance to be a part of.
That's cool. Yeah, I thought so too. I'm like, man, everybody here is very intentional. You can tell they want help. They're asking the questions. They're really looking forward to it. So I thought the same thing. Was there anything that you learned through that experience? Were there any surprises or epiphanies? You're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Like, do you have to go back to the basics more with this channel? Are you like, I don't know, like, was there any epiphanies for you where you're like, oh, well, man, these guys have way more opportunity than I thought, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think some of the feedback that I got, there were a handful of guys that I talked to, a couple different companies that had kind of gone down the path already. So like they'd gotten in, whether they were, had used our product in the past or it was competitive stuff. One of the bigger takeaways was some of the successes that guys had who had really kind of just started to either dove in head first or were even just tiptoeing around, but from a marketing perspective had added, outdoor lighting and audio to their brand, right? And they started to market that way. And the feedback that I got from them, which was completely unsolicited, but really, really very, very welcomed, was, man, the second I started talking about audio, it's like, I felt like my lead volume doubled. And I thought that was really interesting feedback, particularly being that it was 100% organic in the moment. And it was a light bulb moment for me, because to be fair, I've used that advice for guys that are in that I've seen since then, to provide them with a little bit of an extra layer of, hey, by the way, this worked for several guys that got off the ground. I mean, you had a couple attendees that been in lighting for a few years now, and that was the resounding feedback was when you market for it and you tell people you're doing it, the doors that opens, because there is such a huge appetite for it and crazy demand that people gravitated toward that. So I thought it was a cool takeaway. I definitely didn't expect to get that. It's not
that's
common
awesome.
that I got that, but it was really, really cool. And that was early in the show, and I think that kind of set the tone, right? And
Cool.
from then on, it was it was powerful, man. It was really cool. It's really good.
We'll make sure to keep planting those guys in the audience for you. Just make sure to tip accordingly.
I was going to say, make sure they get their $100 and move on.
So, you mentioned like Green Channel. What historically, what channel sells the most outdoor audio with Sonance?
It varies. It's pretty evenly split. I mean, look, we're well diversified in a lot of different places. We've got some fantastic dealers that do. Our dealer network is incredible. It's the strength of the company, and like that's those are guys that do it really, really, really well with that. But a lot of times, depending on the size of the project, man, it can vary on whether guys have the appetite or the availability to do that. We've seen it do well in our retail space. We've seen it do well, through distribution that we're a part of. I mean, I would say it's, on average, it's well blended. But I think that the issue is the buying public is looking for a solution that they don't know how to get. Like, they're not aware that what we do and the degree of, both the performance, the blended aesthetic that we're able to provide even exists. And then when you find out that, from a cost price point perspective, we're kind of in line with a good lighting project, just in terms of general cost, they're typically going to parallel really well. For anybody that's already buying a lighting project, I think it's an easy parallel to have, and the homeowners are looking for it. They're solving it right now with Bluetooth speakers, man. I mean, that's what folks are taking it out, a little battery speaker outside, and that's kind of the go-to. And look, it serves its purpose, but for folks that really intend to use their space, in a broader capacity, and they're doing a lot of entertaining, the opportunity to put a permanently wired solution into their backyard and into their outdoor living experience is it's a notion that I don't think most people know exists. And so having guys in your space that are out there beating the drum for it and growing the category, I think that's all we could ask for, right? The rising tide will raise all ships.
I imagine you are a lot like us when it comes to audio. Like, I remember going up to this house. It was about a $3 million house. And like, we were doing the neighbor actually. Okay. And so, but I look next door, it's like a $3 million house, and he's got all these solar lights, so like, it just kind of makes you sick a little bit. Imagine you walk into someone's property and they got the Bluetooth and like, yeah, it sounds pretty good. It's almost, we have the same, like, any light's better than no light, and any audio is better than no audio. So they don't know what they don't know. Their perspective is like, no, that has some bass. Like, it's not a big deal. So how do we change that? What's the value proposition, and how do we sell outdoor audio?
Well, I think what's really changed, a whole lot in the last 10 or 11 years is the way that people approach outdoor living, just in general, as a total category. I think historically, the green industry has been hyper segmented based on like trade discipline, right? So you've got hardscape guy, you've got a landscape guy, you've got a lighting guy, you've got a an outdoor kitchen guy, you've got a pergola patio cover guy. And I think in the last 10 years, you've started to see a lot more growth in that design build, kind of turnkey outfit, which is just capitalizing on where the market's headed. One of the perspectives that I think I share often when we talk to folks in the industry is to kind of do a short history lesson and think back to 10 years ago. Outdoor living was kind of a destination type experience, right? It was, the pool was out away from the house. And when we went out to the pool as a family, it was, we're going to go there like we were, going to the beach for a day or whatever. And if we built a fire pit, it was kind of remote, and it was a destination type event. And I feel like people are started to move that experience a little closer to the home, and tuck it a little tighter on the property line, or the boundary line to the house. And for all the history buffs that are listening out there, right? Then we had this event in 2020 that kind of locked everybody in their house, and people got tired of staring at the same walls and the same kitchen, and this notion that we could carbon copy our indoor living experience in an outdoor capacity and have all the same amenities that we had inside, but also outside, really accelerated the growth of this category. The hardscape is the square footage, the pergola, the patio cover is the shade or the temperature control in that environment. If there's a kitchen, there's functionality in that, right? It's a cooler place to cook. And then lighting obviously adds to that, the ability to extend the use of that space into the night, both in a functional capacity, but also in something that looks really nice. What we've always found is the entertainment aspect is what gives whoever's using that space, whether it's it's an internal family event with your immediate family, or if you're entertaining folks, it gives you a reason to be there, right? And so whether it's watching the game or listening to music or some combination of the two of those things, that's what allows you to really extend and give you a reason to stay in that space longer. And going back to what you were kind of kicking around when you started the show today was around referrals and like what gets people excited about it. Like that's the stuff that they truly love and that they truly remember, and that's what drives referral. And it's when you can deliver an experience like that makes the environment comfortable and it mimics all the same performance and the functionality that they have inside, and we do it outside. I think that's what makes it stick. And I think like as time's gone by, people are looking for more of it, and we're delivering more of it. And I think it's growing. I think the outdoor audio space right now is probably close to where the lighting industry was maybe 15, 20 years ago. It's on the cusp of, really taking off. And we've seen that over the last several years, and I don't expect it to slow down. But
what are like top guys producing? I don't know if you would know their revenues or maybe purchases from you guys. Like what does a good outdoor audio company do?
Well, I don't know if we had some dedicated guys in that capacity. I don't know that we've had the penetration for like a dedicated outdoor audio company per se. If so, I'd love to meet them and have a conversation.
Even if it's just like a big, like you said, outdoor living guy, or like who are some of your, what are the categories that are selling the most outdoor audio, I guess?
Yeah, so I think the design build firms that really place the focus on how somebody lives in that space and how they can recreate that indoor living experience outside. That is a focus that I see across the country as I go from different geographies all over the country. That as a through line is probably the most impactful. But those are folks that for the most part have all the different trades or verticals in-house, or if not, they've got great subs that they're using to supplement a portion or part of those projects. Behind a full turnkey outfit, honestly, man, it's lighting or pool guys, right? Like lighting and pool companies do really, really, really well with audio. And I've said this, I've said this before, but I would echo this largely. A good outdoor audio system is not designed for people to go outside and do dedicated listening. It's not an audiophile type experience. What audio does outside is it enhances whatever other activity you're doing at the time, right? So if I'm cooking and I want that to be more fun, I'm going to listen to music while I'm doing it. If I'm in the pool and I want that to be a more exciting and more engaging event, like I'm going to create ambiance by incorporating an audio system. And so it's really designed not to be the focal point, but to kind of be the glue that holds that entire experience together. And quite frankly, I think there's value in it in every vertical at this point. Where we've seen success is, again, is the turnkey outfits. And then I would say lighting and pools behind that. But I think hardscape guys have an opportunity too. And, getting those guys to come around is part of the work that we're doing today. So, as far as
when I hear you talk about that, and you said the term earlier, blended aesthetic, I'm thinking kind of all this coming together because so I had this experience. I sold this lighting job, and they were, like every other homeowner, we're going to get you so many referrals. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm not giving you a deal. Right. So they said that, but they're like, we're having this party and you guys are awesome. And we want to get you all these referrals and all of our friends are rich and all this stuff. So they go do the party. And afterward I go, hey, how'd the party go? Did you get us a bunch of leads? And they're like, it's crazy. Like no one actually mentioned the lighting. And I was like, what the hell? Do I suck at lighting? You know what I mean? Like, and she goes, no, it's like the fact that they didn't, like, goes to show you, like, we didn't want it to be about the lights. We wanted it to be about our backyard and the experience. And and people kept saying, wow, we love your backyard. We love the trees. I never knew that you had this. I never know this. And so it was kind of the same thing that you're talking about. It's like when you're going out to cook or when you're going out to swim or when you're having people by the fire pit, you don't want them to say like, I really like your outdoor audio. You just want them to feel it. You just want them to feel like something's different here. This is amazing. Like I feel so good. And yeah, it might be one of those things that they notice, but it's not center stage. It's just the thing that makes the experience come together. And I feel like lighting is like that at night. Audio can be that during the day or night.
Yeah, well, and look, I mean, we liken a well-designed audio system just like we would a well-designed lighting system, and that the coverage is even, it's comfortable to be in, right? We create a sound stage that people can move effortlessly through, that's just consistent no matter where you go. And so, like, as an example of that, if you go to a resort, you're going to get that type of experience. Nobody's going to go to a resort and go, man, the speakers at that resort were awesome. Like, I'm so glad I stayed there and I'm going to go back for that. It's a combination of all of those elements and the way that they, spark that sensory reaction to the environment itself. It's just another layer that adds nuance to what that feeling is like back there. I thought it was interesting. You were talking earlier about value in sales, and you talked about increasing value but not reducing price. And one of the things that we've taught historically is luxury is a feeling. It's not tied to a brand. It's not tied to a material or a textile, or in a lot of cases, it's not even tied to a price point, man. There's kids out there, working, high school, college jobs, making $15 an hour, running around in $600 tennis shoes. That's a luxury buy for somebody that's making that money, right? But every time they put them on, they feel awesome. And there's not a way to describe that unless you can put somebody in the driver's seat of that feeling. And when you deliver a turnkey backyard, just like the one you were talking about, like, that's how you show it. And we've got the ability to demonstrate that. There are tools and kits and stuff that you can use to kind of bring that to life at least a little bit and show it to somebody, but they have to really experience it and feel it, right? Just like you talked about with a $500,000 car, you got to drive it before you know what it feels like and know how to understand it. And so, and understand why it's worth that. And I think this is just like that. It's one component that goes into building that ideal outdoor living environment.
Do you need a demo kit? Like, does someone need that to sell outdoor audio?
I would tell you it's a critical component that allows you to land the message in 15 minutes with no words. Whereas someone that's as long-winded as I am could explain it to you, but it'd take me 45. And even then you wouldn't you wouldn't get it till you got it. I think that as a tool, I think it's definitely helpful. But for somebody that's running a business, it's getting it. I mean, step one is offering, right? And it's talking to them and letting them know, hey, this is something that we can do. And it's something that you're probably going to want. There's data that we shared in the class, that we did at Light It Up. And there's surveys, they're quite frankly a couple of years old, but surveys from American Society of Landscape Architects that talks about half the specified projects are going to incorporate a wired audio solution. House.com did a survey talking to homeowners. Hey, when you do your backyard, what are things that you're going to want to put in there? Is it a fire pit? Is it kitchen? And they kind of rank all those. It was the same number, right? It was about half. And that was a couple of years ago. I can tell you definitively, with as cheap as technology has gotten especially in the last 5 years, outdoor TV costs are way down. Regular TV costs are, they're so commoditized now. I mean, you can get a 100-inch TV for $1,600 at Costco. So, like, people want to recreate that indoor living experience outside, and the entertainment side of it is one that's highly sought after. The question is who's going to be the group that the company that executes on that and puts it into play for somebody. And so yeah, is a demo kit valuable? 100%. Is it everything? No, but it's, there's some data on that'll tell you you've got a pretty high close rate when you take one out. And it's
Right.
quite frankly, unless you've got a showroom, the only way that you're going to be able to get somebody to understand the concept. I joke when I train it, but I have been thrown out of some really nice backyards, just because early in my career I went in guns blazing. Oh, we're going to need 24 satellites and 6 subwoofers, and when somebody hears that without any context, it's hey, thanks, but no thanks. I don't think we're on the same page. And what I found by talking to guys at Light It Up is, the amount of times where a homeowner will tell you, hey, I want to do lights out here. I think I need 6. Here's where I want to put them. And then being the professionals, that we are, we go in and say, well, it's actually not 6 fixtures. In order to get these 6 areas lit, it's actually going to take 28 fixtures to do that. Right. And here's why. It's the same talk track when you talk through audio. And that's where a lot of the parallel in the industries comes into play. Is it doesn't have to be, this notion of more speakers is louder and more subs is louder. There's a lot of reason why, an appropriate amount of coverage is important. For the same reason it's important to be balanced and comfortable in lighting. It's the exact same thing in audio. The reality is you get better detail at low volume the more speakers you have. And so that's the principle that we can showcase if somebody does it on site.
That's what I love about the demo too, because no one's buying speakers. I mean, it's fun to geek out and be like, well, it's got this many, whatever, but like no one really wants it. They're buying the experience, And so if you can just say like, turn it on, I like that. Okay, for that, it's $12,000 or whatever the number is. It doesn't matter how much wire, what type of connections, how many speakers. I mean, I heard someone say the analogy, like if someone's painting your house, it's not like how many gallons of paint and how many rollers are you using? Like it doesn't matter. Like I just need my house painted. Like I need it to look good and I need it to be this color. So they're not asking for a number of gallons and they're not telling you, I want you to use 32 gallons. And I want some, it's like, no, I just want my house painted. So we are the artists. We are the ones that have to say like, no, this is, if you want this experience that you just heard. And that's why I love the demo. It's kind of like a cheat code. It's like, just let them hear it and they can't dispute that it sounds awesome. And to your point, I like it because even when I have some old outdoor audio at my house, I don't have enough speakers. And I didn't know that at the time, but then since then I've walked properties that have like, not just double the amount of speakers, but probably like 4 times the amount of speakers that I have. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's freaking awesome because you literally, everywhere you go, it's exactly the same level. And that's to me what a well-designed system is. So you don't have to crank it up. So yeah, I love what you're saying.
Yeah, that and you mentioned the blended aesthetic. Like you can accomplish that performance and hide it all where nobody has to see anything and it just kind of comes to life. You can get your own little version of Disney magic in your backyard. You know what I mean?
Right.
With that type of experience. It is, and it, I know it's cliche, but it's true and it's really, really, really cool. And it's, honestly, on the business end of it, it's a check that people are excited to stroke because it is fun. And it's not, no disrespect to our friends in irrigation, but like nobody gets excited about their sprinklers except guys that are in that industry, right? And like, it's not selling insurance, man. These are toys, and it's fun, and it's engaging, and it brings people together, and it gives you a chance to create an environment and ambiance that is just unlike most yards today. So,
I used to have this mentality and mindset when I first started doing what I'm doing now with Landscape Lighting Secrets. I would try to trick the people I'm teaching. I would get up and speak and like, do people need landscape lighting or do they want it? And they're like, they want it. I'm like, no, they need it. If they don't get it, they're going to die. And like all this stuff. Right. Which I kind of actually still feel that way. But I had this epiphany maybe about 18 months ago, I was like, wait a minute. The coolest thing about landscape lighting, and I'm going to throw outdoor audio in there as well, is that they don't need it. They literally invest in it because they want it. Like they don't need to go on a vacation and drop 15 grand or 60 grand to Vel for the week. They go because they want to, and it makes them feel good. And they're like, I earned this, and this is freaking awesome. That's the coolest part about it. Like you said, it's like they love it. Like they get to stroke that check because they're like, man, I get to do this. And that's really cool. Like if we are selling irrigation or roofs or HVAC, like, yeah, you have to have those things. So like, good job, but like no one brags about their new HVAC system.
No.
Their audio, they're going to be like, hey neighbor, get your ass over here. Listen to this.
Yeah, come over so I can crank it.
Yes.
And you're not yelling at me. You're partying
cool.
with me. Yeah.
They got it because they wanted it, not because they had to, which that's our competitive advantage. That's what, if we can tap into those emotions, it's like, hey, you're not going to buy outdoor audio because you have to. Like you're going to because you're a badass. Like you get to. You earned this, and now you're going to provide this experience to you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, all your get-togethers. You're literally creating this experience. It's going to remind you of your Disney trip, remind you of your trip to that all-inclusive or to your trip to Europe or whatever it is. And now you get to relive that every single time you turn on your audio.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%, man. I mean, that's all we're trying to do is make that space more fun, make it more usable, more livable, longer. And, again, going back to what you said, it's such an easy way to catch a referral because it is the type of nuance that, makes people want to stay, right? And the longer they hang and the more that they enjoy it, the more they're going to want to do it themselves. And so it's sticky too, man. It's a sticky business. A lot of, I would tell you a lot of the first time system deployments that I see typically get either undersold or underdesigned, and not by the fault of anybody, but there's a lot of fear. I don't want to, I don't want to piss off my neighbors, right? I want something that's fun and that's engaging and that's, that gives me that atmosphere. But I don't want to, I don't want to be that neighbor. And what they'll find is with a well-designed system, there's a degree of comfort and there's a degree of performance. If you want to turn it up a little and, without being disruptive, it's very doable. And what happens over time is, somebody will put in a system that might only be smaller, one phase or one zone of their yard. And, 3 to 6 months in, they realize they started out at 60% volume and then it was 70 and then 80. And then 3 months in, they're like, man, nobody's complained. I love this. I want to do it in this part of the yard. I want to do it in that part of the yard. I want to, I want to do it at this other house because it, turns out it's really, really, really cool. And so we see a lot of return business opportunity on that. And again, it's because it's a fun check to stroke. So, yeah, I'd encourage anybody that hasn't had the experience or the opportunity to experience well-designed system. Like, man, once you've been in a space that's done well, it's really, really hard to forget. And, if there's any, takeaway on the business side of that, man, it's whatever you can do to show that to somebody, whether it's a showroom, whether it's a demo, whether it's your own house, whatever. Once somebody experiences it done right, it's impossible for them to accept anything less. And I think there's a hell of a lot of value in that conversation when you're, when you're obviously trying to sell it as part of your initiative.
What are some, I mean, you've trained so many different people and been around these conversations, but what are some maybe common misconceptions about outdoor audio that's held people back, or some fears, or they're just uncertainties that once they get in, you're like, they're kind of have the opposite reaction of like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
I think the biggest fear that we run into for guys that I would consider like non-audio or non-CEDIA industry guys is the fear of the integration. How do I get music from my phone into the speakers that I want to listen to? And the cool part is, especially even in the last few years, the delivery method that you can utilize to get any type of sound out of your phone and onto a system like that has has evolved a ton, and there's so many different options. We're going to advocate for for Wi-Fi solutions, just because the range is better and there's no disruption. If you get a phone call, right, it's superior to Bluetooth in that regard. But I think there's a lot of fear and trepidation. The other side of it is, and this is just the reality of this is a laws of physics conversation, but the amplifier in the system is a lot like a lighting transformer, right? It's the head end, it's what drives the power, it's what allows us to get the volume we're looking for. When it does its job, particularly as volume goes up, it generates heat. And so the hardest part is learning how to specify the right one and figuring out where you're going to physically place it. We've got some solutions that'll keep you from having to go inside somebody's house for small systems. But I think there's fear and trepidation. Well, I don't want to make a wall penetration into somebody's garage, or I'm uncomfortable putting equipment inside somebody's house. And while it's not necessary every time, to do a bigger project or more robust solution, you're kind of limited by the electronics, right? I mean, we're fighting against, a machine that, is creating its own heat. And when you think about, my geography, I know you're formerly from Texas, but I'm still here. So it's, late June in Texas, you know what it's like outside for me right now. And that goes the same, across the entire South. And it's not exclusive. I mean, August almost anywhere in the US is going to be hot. And, that's where we run into issues of, potential failure if it's not designed well. And so, that becomes the hurdle to overcome. The good news is in the last 3 years, again, we've assembled some products that kind of help with that, and the continued education to get guys comfortable with deploying these pieces in whether it's in an outdoor kitchen cabinet or wired into a basement maybe, or into a garage. Like, there's ways to do it where you don't have to become a full-blown AV integrator in order to deliver, a simple audio solution, or even connect it to a TV. You can integrate a ton of it, and technology's helped, like I said, in the last few years, and just the evolution of all the different choices that are out there. So for my part, I can help sift through that a little bit. That's what I try to coach and train, and just make it easier for guys to jump off, go feet first in and go. But I can promise you, it's not there's no shortage of appetite on the customer end. It's finding the guys that are willing to do that, and capitalize on the opportunity that, that we want to help support. So
cool. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of do. We had a lot of people that had FOMO. They didn't come to light it up, and literally they were like, "So, well, I mean, are you gonna have outdoor audio at the next one?" I'm like, "Well, you don't have to wait a year to get trained." You know what I mean? Or this isn't the only place to learn outdoor audio. But are you planning on coming back? People want to know: are you coming back to Light It Up 2027?
Man, I tell you what, it was a blast, especially considering how tumultuous and how quick we threw that together, and how we kind of put it all together.
We'll give you 9 months instead of 9 days to get ready this time. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think that event was one of those that, that I could see a considerable amount of value in it across the board. Right. It's a win-win type event for us and for the folks that are there. I'd love to continue to participate in that. Largely just to continue to further my own education selfishly. I mean, when I go to those shows, I spend as much time learning and trying to further my understanding, so I can help our company understand where better to solve for folks in adjacent industries to what our primary line of business is. And so selfishly, I take the opportunity to dive into that. But I love seeing the light bulbs go off in the room. I love seeing people's faces for the when they experience it for the first time. I mean, that's
cool.
That's what keeps us rolling. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd love to engage that again. And, for the folks that have been through that, maybe there's an opportunity to do more advanced conversation, in a different capacity, and, mix that up a little bit while not, leaving out guys that weren't able to make that course. Like, I'd love to figure out what that looks like and attend.
That's actually a good idea. Because some people are afraid of growth. Some people are like, wait a minute, why are you growing the industry? Blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, one of the advantages to growth, I mean, if we put on a conference and it only has 50 attendees, number one, like, it's hard to get vendors to want to come support something like that, right? So as we grow, it's like, okay, it's more attractive. But then as we grow too, now we can get more specific and we can have like, oh no, that's our intro to outdoor audio. This is our intermediate and this is our advanced. We can have training for owners. We can have training for technicians. There's so many benefits to growth, and that's really the future of Light It Up. So I'm glad. I'll probably actually reach out to you and see if maybe we do that. Maybe this next year we do like a beginner and an advanced, so that the people that have already done 5-10 installs, they're like, no, I'm ready for the next level. I don't want to sit through the same intro one again. So talk about, I guess, real quick, if someone again people were literally like, so are you doing it next year? I'm like, you don't have to. Pretty sure you don't have to wait 12 months. What would be the best if someone wants to get started now? What's the best way to get started? Do they buy um, equipment for their own house? Is there a training they can attend? Is there like, what would you suggest to someone who's listening right now who's like, okay, I like this, I want to take the next step?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different ways to go about that. There's a handful of we work with the major distribution brands throughout the U.S. Right, so we're pocketed in different geographies with some of those different partners all over the place. Realistically, I've got no problem having a conversation with somebody, even one-on-one, and just saying, look, like, tell me what it looks like for you. What's your appetite? And then, let me help you find the right vehicle to get in front of the right folks. Or maybe it's something with an event that we've got that I can bring them along for. I actually had that happen, with several folks that we met through Light It Up. Recently I ran into or invited a handful of them right back in Florida, not a month ago. And so it's cool to get to see folks again, and said, hey, if you want to deep dive this or send folks that weren't able to come to Light It Up to this event, we actually already did that, and we'll continue to do so. I don't have a specific calendared, like, necessarily public event that we're tied into, but I'm happy to work through you and your team, and get connected with the folks that are interested in some capacity, and try to help network in that regard, and find the right vehicle for them. I would say best case scenario is, like I said, through you and your team, get in touch, and let's collaborate a little bit and figure out where we can plug in to get folks off the ground. And I think every scenario is different too, man. That's the hard part, is every company's size is a little different. And so what their appetite is and how big a project they're looking to tackle, all that stuff that I can help kind of sift through and vet for them, and be a resource for.
Yeah, you know what? If we do, I mean, we talked about doing something at my house even, and then and we we'll put the word out when we do that. But I just, one of the things I admire about you, and again, not knowing you a very long time, but you're a guy that just goes all in. You're there to serve. You're there to make sure that red carpet, white glove experience is there. And so I could see that happening, where almost organically these almost mini regional trainings could happen, where someone reaches out, and then if I have some, I'm like, hey, all you Texas guys, we've got something going on in DFW or Houston or whatever, or at so and so's place. Make sure you guys show up. Something like that could be very interesting. So
yeah, it's for me. I appreciate you saying that, man. I try to live that. Bandwidth is hard. I truly
haven't invented more than 24 hours in a day yet. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know, man. It's rough. I try to live that, man, and sometimes I outkick my own coverage, and I don't mean to, if I run into those situations, but at the end of the day, if we could get stuff on the books and get scheduled, I'm happy to meet directly with folks, even if that's the case. Or if I know I'm going to be in a geography, I have no problem, reaching out and connecting with, with anybody while I'm there, and helping them along the way. But scheduling is important. But the good news is, from a company perspective, is we've got a growing team that's able to support this type of work in lots of different places that are local to other pieces of geography outside of Texas, and some of the specific places I tend to travel more frequently. So again, I'd say if somebody wants to get rolling, like, work through you and your team, and let's get them in touch, and more than happy to to talk to anybody that's interested in jumping in feet first.
Cool. Well, if people want to learn more about Sonance and what you guys are doing over there, I don't even know what is the website. What's the best place to send people?
There's a ton of information at sonance.com that can walk you through some of our philosophy and what we stand for, and give you some insight into who we are as a company, along with a considerable amount of product information. The way that we kind of present in that regard is more experience based. It's less SKU driven and more about the environments that people are looking to incorporate audio solutions into. And we've got for guys that may already be in it or that are interested in like some of the technical aspect, we've got a dedicated YouTube channel that's got installation videos and some product feature stuff. And, and it's just Sonance on YouTube. We're continuing to develop those assets and provide resources for anybody in lots of different capacities. And there's some cool indoor stuff that we do that, we don't talk about very often, that you may stumble upon in a category like invisible speakers inside your house, which is definitely a thing. You have to see it to believe it. Great dad joke. You can't.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. But yeah, that's where I would check out. And again, I'm happy to connect with anybody and provide some of the more curated industry and green channel assets that I've got that aren't quite as public because it's still kind of in this growth phase. But happy to help and educate anybody when we have the chance.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you for being part of Light It Up. Thank you for coming on here. You've already done a training for us internally at Landscape Lighting Secrets. So just appreciate you for continuing to show up. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a big deal for our industry. And there's going to be a few that really gravitate to it early. They're going to just have that head start, that competitive advantage. So thanks for being part of it. Thanks for showing up for everybody. And guys, if you're listening, make sure to not just listen, take action. I guarantee. And the coolest thing is you could just literally like send out a sample, text, email, phone call to your voicemail drop to your client base and let them know what you're doing. You'll probably get some leads. When you do, then you can be like, okay, 911, I need help. Come help me. And we got your back. So thanks again, Ryan. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you a ton.
All right, guys, go make it happen. Check out Sonance on YouTube. I like that idea a lot. And most of all, take action and keep moving forward. Thanks, everyone.